Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're embarking on a journey, really, to tackle one of the most profound questions. Something that has puzzled even the brightest minds in physics for ages. Why does structure exist at all? What gives rise to the very dimensions, fields, forces before they interact in ways we can observe?
Yeah, it's fundamental. Modern physics, well, it often just starts by assuming spacetime exists.
Right. Takes it as a given.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the truly mind-bending question is, where does it come from?
And that's what we're digging into. We're about to peel back the layers of reality as we know it, diving deep into a pretty groundbreaking paper by Philip Lillian.
That's the one. Dimensional condensation and the structuralization threshold. Coherence Cascade Theory and the Emergence of Reality.
Quite a title.
It is, and it lives up to it. Published by the Unified Coherence Theory Institute, July 2025. And this isn't just another academic paper,
No, it feels much bigger. It's described as a foundational coherence ontology.
That's right. And it seriously challenges our most basic assumptions about the very fabric of existence.
So our mission for you today is to really unpack this revolutionary framework. We want to get into the comprehensive details.
We do. We're going to explore how dimension, structure, force, how they don't just, appear out of nowhere, but actually emerge from something really profound, a hypercoherent field.
This deep dive, I think it's going to turn our understanding of physics, cosmology, maybe even consciousness completely inside out.
It has that potential, definitely.
So settle in, because you are in for some seriously profound insights.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into the core of it then. The very first thing this paper does, right from the start, it completely flips our conventional understanding of reality on its head. It's quite radical.
It really is. Instead of starting with space and time as, the stage.
The usual starting point.
Exactly. It introduces a completely new foundational concept, the bedrock of everything.
So what is this bedrock?
Well, what's truly fascinating here is how Lillian redefines that starting point. Traditional physics, like you said, often assumes space-time pre-exists. And various gauge symmetries, too.
We just accept there's a stage space and a clock time.
Right. We take it for granted. But Lillian's work, this foundational coherence ontology, proposes something else entirely.
Okay.
It introduces coherence, with a capital C,
Coherence,
as the scalar ordering principle from which reality itself emerges. Think of it maybe as a perfect underlying harmony that orchestrates everything.
So it's not just a description, like things become coherent, it's the actual starting ingredient?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Things don't become coherent. They start from coherence. And it's crucial to understand this isn't just correlation or harmony in the everyday sense.
Okay, so what is it then in this context?
Lillian defines it as the active symmetry field. It's the fundamental measure of internal consistency across all possible modes of manifestation.
Internal consistency, like the universe's own self-agreement.
Sort of, yes. Like the universe's internal tuning fork vibrating everything into existence.
Yeah.
Or maybe the underlying unity and self-organization inherent in the cosmos. It's not a property of reality. It is the ground of reality itself.
Wow. That really contrasts with conventional physics.
Absolutely. Conventional physics assumes space-time and gauge symmetries are primary. This theory says no, coherence precedes dimension, energy, even physical law.
It's the ultimate prior condition.
Exactly. And Lillian gives a specific definition for this scalar measure. When coherence, C equals 1.
C1.
Right. C1 represents a state of total symmetry and infinite potential. This is the hypercoherent field. Pure, undifferentiated unity. Complete. Whole.
And what happens when it's not 1?
Well, as C drops below 1, so C1, that signifies partial decoherent.
Decoherence, like losing that perfect unity.
Yes. The perfect symmetry begins to break. And that's where the potential for structure starts to manifest. It's like that perfectly still ocean we talked about, starting to ripple, giving rise to form.
Okay, that's a profound reordering. So if coherence comes first, what's the sequence? How does everything else unfold from there?
It leads to this new epistemic hierarchy, a new way of seeing how reality unfolds. Instead of matter existing in space and time.
Which is how we usually think of it.
Right. The hierarchy proposed is coherence first, then symmetry emerges from that, then dimensionality from symmetry, followed by forces, and finally, matter.
Coherence, symmetry, dimensionality, forces, matter. That is a critical departure.
It really is. It implies space isn't an empty container, but a phase state or projection of coherence. Space is inside coherence.
Inside coherence, okay.
And time.
time isn't an independent dimension either. It's a function of coherence modulation. It appears as a flow when coherence changes.
So time emerges from changes in coherence.
That's the idea. And energy, which we usually think of as fundamental, maybe the fundamental driver.
Yeah, EMC squared and all that.
Right. Here, energy is redefined as a coherence displacement gradient.
A coherence displacement gradient.
No, right.
Meaning basically a manifestation of coherence moving or changing. It's less of a fundamental substance, more like a ripple in that underlying field.
So energy isn't the primary driver. It's just a ripple in this deeper ocean of coherence. That's mind-bending.
It is. Can I use that ocean analogy again?
Please do. It was helpful.
Okay. Imagine that perfectly calm, still ocean. Boundless, not a single ripple. That represents pure potential, perfect unity coherence at C1.
Got it. Pure potential.
Now, every ripple, every wave, every current that then appears on that surface, those are all reductions in that perfect stillness. And those reductions, those disturbances, are what lead to the emergence of structure, of form, of the observable reality we experience.
So the ocean is coherence, and the waves are reality emerging.
Exactly. The ocean itself is coherence, and its modulations, its changes in stillness, are reality unfolding.
Yeah.
It all stems from that fundamental unity.
That's an incredible way to visualize it. Okay, so this brings us to the very beginning, the origin of story. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because the paper redefines that origin completely. It's not a big bang in the usual sense, is it?
No, it's fundamentally different. Lillian introduces the big emergence. And crucially, it's not described as a temporal explosion like a bang that happened in the past.
Okay, so not an event back then.
No. He describes it as a phase activation of perfect symmetry. It's a field condition where coherence is CN1, that state of hypercoherent unity we talked about.
A field condition, meaning it's still happening.
In a sense, yes, it's not a historical event that's over. It's framed as a continuously embedded process, an ontological constant, an ever-present phase, continuously unfolding.
Like the universe is always being born in every moment.
That's a good way to put it. And within this big emergence, we find something Lillian calls hypergravity.
Hypergravity sounds intense. Is it like normal gravity?
Not quite. It's not a force in the conventional sense, pulling things together. It's maximal at Cn. And it represents the invariant internal recursion of coherence itself.
Internal recursion, like coherence looping back on itself.
Sort of. It's described as a torsionless pre-structural field. All symmetries, all potential fields are enfolded within this singular unified condition. It's the intrinsic unity of the foundational coherence, the inherent tendency for everything to stay unified before anything separates.
So not a force, but the very glue of that unified state. And in this state, no dimensions, no time as we know it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
At C1, there are no defined dimensions. There's no asymmetry, no movement as we perceive it. Yet there's infinite phase potential.
Infinite potential. Okay.
Described as an omnilocal field, everywhere and nowhere distinctly.
That sounds...
A state where the actual dimensionality, d-actual, is 0.
No dimensions yet.
But the potential dimensionality, d-potential, is infinite.
Possibilities.
Exactly. Imagine that perfectly smooth, featureless clay again. Contains the potential for any shape, but currently has no defined features. It holds all possibilities without actualizing any specific one.
Okay, I think I get that. So how does it start to actualize? How does the unfolding begin?
Well, the big emergence starts this process not from some external push, but when coherence modulates itself. It's a self-reflexive process.
It changes itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
This self-modulation activates what are called torsional inflections within that unity field.
Torsional inflections, like little twists.
Exactly. Think of them as the initial subtle twists or disturbances in the perfect stillness, like the first tiny currents appearing on that calm ocean. These are the first asymmetry resonance operators, or AROs.
AROs. Okay, that sounds important.
They are. These AROs introduce partial directionalization and prototopology. This is the very beginning of dimensional condensation.
So the twists start creating direction.
Yes, as the coherence field twists, loops, differentiates.
Yeah.
And through these processes, fundamental qualities like chirality, think left versus right-handedness, polarity like positive and negative, and even proto-identity begin to arise. It's like the universe is self-sculpting from its own potential.
That's a totally different picture than a sudden explosion of existing stuff.
It is. It's an unfolding from potential, twisting itself into what becomes reality.
And this means gravity, as hypergravity, is part of that fundamental state, not something that emerged later.
Correct. The big emergence isn't a past event. It's an ontological constant, and ever-present phase process continuously embedded within the real now.
The real now. We'll come back to that, I
We
assume.
will. But the insight here is profound. Gravity, as hypergravity, is foundational coherence itself, not an emergent force that arises later.
It is the unity.
It is the underlying unity that becomes space and gravity as we know them when coherence reduces. It's the inherent self-consistency of the field.
Okay. That completely reframes the origin story. So if it's not an explosion, how does this perfect unified coherence actually break down? How does it become the forces and particles we see? Strong force, weak force, electromagnetism.
Right. How do we get from perfect unity to diverse reality? This is where the concept of the coherence cascade comes in.
A cascade, like a waterfall.
Kind of. Imagine it more like a series of filters or steps down. It's described as the structured, stratified reduction from total coherence into distinct symmetry fields.
Structured and stratified, so it's not random.
Not at all. This descent is governed by quantized coherence amplitude thresholds, like a series of precise steps that refine potential into specific forms. Each step down the cascade means less coherence, but more distinct, observable structure.
Okay, can you walk us through those steps? The details sound crucial here.
Absolutely. Let's break down the cascade, as Lillian details it. It shows this elegant progression.
Great.
First, at C1.0, we have hypercoherence. This is the realm of the UFT hypergroup, omnilectic unity, total undivided potential, where we started with a big emergence.
The absolute beginning.
Right. Then, as coherence reduces slightly, in the range of C, about 0.9 down to 0.6, we enter the torsional pre-dimensional phase.
Three-dimensional.
Yeah. Here, protosymmetry fields emerge. Think of them as prechiral tension fields. The first subtle signs of structure, where that fundamental twist or torsion starts creating preliminary orientations.
The first hints of form.
Exactly. Then the next big drop is to see roughly 0.6 down to 0.333. This is the dimensional condensation zone. And crucially, this is where the SU3 color force scaffolding emerges.
LU3. That's the strong force.
That's right, the strong nuclear force. This marks the first asymmetry appearance. The coherence field has reduced enough to support distinct, stable, multi-directional interactions, the kind that bind quarks together inside protons and neutrons.
So the strong force, the most powerful one, is actually a reduction in coherence. That feels backwards somehow.
It does from a conventional view, but here its power comes from its specificity. It signifies a precise level of differentiation from the unified field. It's the first strong bond forged from breaking perfect unity.
Okay, interesting. What's next in the cascade?
The process continues down. From C approximately 0.333 down to 0.125, we hit the asymmetry scaling phase. This leads to SU2, chirality.
SU2. That's the weak force.
Yes, corresponding to the weak field asymmetry, the weak nuclear force. It's described as decohered projection of chirality. Basically, the intrinsic handedness that dictates things like radioactive decay becomes apparent at this specific coherence level, another crucial differentiation.
Got it. Strong, then weak. What about electromagnetism?
That comes next. Further down, from C about 0.125 down to 0.085, we reach the charge isolation layer. This gives rise to U1, electromagnetic separation.
Our familiar EM field.
Exactly. Light, chemistry, electricity. This is described as a highly decohered resonance, meaning this fundamental force manifests at a relatively low, but still structured coherence level.
And what happens below that, below 0.085?
Well, finally, below C.085, we enter the realm of chaotic fields. Yeah. Here, coherence is so fragmented that we see structural collapse. Decoherence takes over. What's left is residual turbulence, noise without stable form. The system just can't hold its integrity anymore.
So it's like a layered process. Each force isn't separate, but a stage in coherence specializing itself.
That's a great way to put it. Each gauge group, S2, U1, isn't fundamental on its own. It's a structural reduction of the coherence field.
Arising from those ARO things.
Exactly. Arising from the dynamics of asymmetry resonance operators as coherence drops. And critically, forces don't cause structure here.
They don't.
No. Coherence reduction generates both force and structure as entangled effects. They merge together, two sides of the same coin, from the coherence modulation.
Okay. Can you give us that prism analogy again? That helped clarify.
Sure. Think of pure unified light, that's C1, hypercoherence. Now, shine it through a series of increasingly fragmented prisms. Each prism is like a coherence threshold in the cascade. As the light passes through the first prism, say C dropping to 0.6, maybe one color emerges, like the strong force structure. Then the next prism, C drops to 0.333, reveals another color, weak force structure. and so on.
And the light itself isn't causing the colors.
Right. The fragmentation by the prisms reveals the colors that were always enfolded within the pure light. The pure light becomes structured as it interacts with these prisms of coherence reduction. It's revealing potential, not adding something new.
That really helps visualize it. Okay, this brings us to another really mind-bending idea you mentioned, dimensions.
Ah, yes, dimensional condensation.
They aren't just there from the start like an empty box, they emerge.
Absolutely. This is one of the most radical parts of the theory. Dimensions condense from what Lillian calls a hyperdimensional field, or HDF.
Hyperdimensional field.
Right. At C1, in this HDF, the actual dimensionality is 0. D actual is 0. But the potential dimensionality is infinite. D potential.
0 actual, infinite potential.
Yes. It's a field of total symmetry, non-local recursion, phase unity. No spatial distinction yet. Like that perfectly smooth clay, again, potential for any shape, but no actual shape, no up or down.
So the universe isn't expanding into space. It's generating its own dimensions as it differentiates.
Precisely. And the zone where this starts is defined as the dimensional condensation zone, which is that coherence range C between 1 and 0.333.
Where the strong force also appears.
Exactly. Within this zone, proto-dimensions, those torsional inflections, and eventually dimensional axes begin to arise. Abstract potential starts crystallizing into tangible orientation.
And the key players here are those AROs again.
Absolutely crucial. Asymmetry resonance operators. They are not particles, not errors. They are dynamic phase structural processes, the engines of emergence for dimensions and forces.
Without them, no dimension.
Without them, the coherence field would stay perfectly symmetric and dimensionless.
So how do they form? What triggers these engines?
They emerge from internal phase tension within the coherence field, when the field can't maintain perfect isotropic equilibrium anymore.
It gets stressed, basically.
In a manner of speaking, yes. It begins to loop, twist, or curl, like water-forming eddies. This creates localized resonant imbalances. But these imbalances are creative, not destructive. They are the first acts of differentiation.
The first twists that build things?
Right. Lillian gives a formal definition. AI equals T plus T plus A.
Okay, break that down for us.
Conceptually, T is like a discrete wobble or deviation in the perfect coherence. T is the induced torsion, the twisting motion, and A is the resulting spin phase orientation, the direction of the twist. It's a quantitative description of these fundamental twists.
So AROs are like the universe's first acts of self-sculpting, twisting itself into the scaffolding of reality.
That's a perfect way to describe it. They literally define dimensional axes, giving rise to direction. They sculpt spin structures, fundamental to particles, and they differentiate the symmetry groups, SU3, SU2, that become forces.
They're pre-gauge, pre-field, writing the code for reality.
Exactly. They write the resonance code for particles, forces, spacetime. Ontologically, AROs are reality's first differentiating acts. They are recursive, looping back on the field. They're topological, forming knots, vortices, braids. And they're phase-sensitive, creating complex interference patterns. This generates the coherence interference logic of reality.
Which is more like resonance than a simple calculation.
Precisely. And what's really profound is that this ARO logic might not just be for physics.
Oh. Where else might it apply?
The paper suggests implications in biology. Maybe ARO-like patterns, structured DNA torsion guiding its folding, or underpins cytoskeletal symmetry in cells?
Cell shape and movement.
Potentially. And in consciousness. Maybe coherent ARO phase locking underpins perception, how we organize sensory data, or how memory forms as stable neural patterns, how neural resonance creates conscious experience.
Wow, from cosmology to cognition.
And even looking ahead to intelligent advanced AI. Maybe future AI systems could operate via ARO-based coherence logic, not just digital gates.
That suggests a truly unified architecture of emergence. A single logic across all scales.
It's a deeply comprehensive and unifying view, yes.
Okay, so coherence builds order via these AROs, but is there a breaking point? A limit where it just can't hold things together anymore?
Yes, there is. Lillian introduces the structuralization threshold, called STEEPN.
STEEPN, minimum coherence.
Essentially, yes. It's a critical boundary, a coherence amplitude floor, where structured reality can no longer maintain itself. Importantly, it's a coherence limit, not thermal or quantum.
Like a stability constant for reality itself. What's the value?
The paper identifies it around Seaman as 0.085.
4.085. Wasn't that the boundary for the EM field?
Exactly. It corresponds precisely to that U1 to chaos boundary in the coherence cascade. Above Keyman, stability. Below it, structure collapses.
So it's like a cosmic breaking point. The fabric of reality just phrase.
That's a good description. Lillian outlines 3 zones again.
Okay.
Zone 1, C from 1.0 down to just above 0.3, hypergravity to SU3. Full resonance, stable form.
Strong structures.
Zone 2, C from 0.3 down to just above 0.085, SU2 and U1. Partial structuring, emergent fields, less tightly bound, but still coherent.
Weaker, but still ordered.
Zone 3, C at 0.085 or below, the chaotic zone. The field becomes too fragmented. No stable structure can be maintained.
And what happens then below Seaman? What does that state look like?
Coherence becomes too fragmented, like a signal lost in static. The torsion, which was building structure, becomes incoherent. It loses its organizing principle. Dimensional stability breaks down. Decoherence saturates everything.
Leaving.
What Lillian calls chaotic residue, noise without form. It's fundamentally unable to self-organize into anything stable.
So chaos here isn't just randomness. It's specifically the result of coherence dropping too low. Resonance failure.
Exactly. The ontological interpretation is key. Coherence carries symmetry. Symmetry seeds structure. Below Seaman, the field can't hold its form. Chaos is post-structural residue. And crucially, it can't re-resonate or reform on its own.
It needs outside help.
It needs external coherence injection, yes. Some intervention to raise its coherence amplitude back above the threshold.
What are the implications of this threshold?
Well, it sets a lower limit for stable matter, for biological systems, for field containment. It also offers a new way to look at things like the cosmic microwave background.
The CMB.
How so? The CMB, quantum noise, vacuum fluctuations. Maybe these aren't just random noise or leftover heat. Maybe they reflect decoherence fields near or even below this Queeman threshold, the signature of broken coherence.
That's a profound thought. Chaos is a byproduct, not fundamental. Okay, this collapse sounds pretty final, but you mentioned the paper offers a counterpoint a way back.
Yes, indeed. This is where the real now and the potential for recoherence come in. Lillian isn't just describing breakdown. He's suggesting a pathway for rebuilding.
The real now. Tell us more about that.
Lillian defines the real now as a living resonance zone. It's the active interface between the hypercoherent field, the C1 origin, and our emergent structured reality.
So not just the present moment we experience.
No, it's much more fundamental. It's not a fleeting time slice. It's described as a resonant aperture, a dynamic gateway where coherence remains partially active, continuously projecting structure from the big emergence into form.
A gateway. Continually refreshing reality.
In a way, yes. And this redefines time. The now isn't in time, time is in the now. Time appears as that dimensional flow when coherence is reduced enough within this now aperture.
So the now generates time, not the other way around.
That's the concept. The now is the dynamic moment of reality actualizing itself. It exists prior to our experience of it.
Prior to experience.
Meaning it's not yet sequenced by memory or anticipation. It hasn't collapsed into observational decoherence yet. Because of this, it retains a partial active resonance with the big emergence, with C1.
It's connected to the origin, moment by moment.
Exactly. It's the structural moment of being, an invariant present, a zone of ontological activity, not just temporal measurement.
Okay. And how does this real now enable recoherence?
Because the real now holds that structural trace of the origin, that partial coherence. It acts as the conduit for recoherence. This is the active restoration of coherence amplitude in systems that have fallen below Clayman.
Reversing the cascade. Moving from disorder back to order.
Precisely. It's a reversal of the decoherence gradient.
So chaos isn't the end of the line. It can be retuned, like bringing an instrument back into harmony.
Exactly. Lillian reframes chaos not as fundamental randomness, but as resonance failure or coherence deficient.
And how does recoherence happen? What's needed?
3 key conditions. First, the real now aperture must be accessible, that active present moment gateway. Second, a source of higher coherence is needed, like an attractor or template to guide the reordering. Third, the chaotic system's torsional residues need to align with those coherent resonance templates.
Aligning the broken pieces with a coherent pattern through the now.
Yes. When these converge, the system can climb the coherence gradient, restoring resonance, symmetry, and stability.
Is there a pathway for this?
Yes, the recoherence pathway. Chaos CU1, CSU2 is CSU3, eventually back towards hypercoherence.
Rebuilding structure layer by layer.
Exactly. And this pathway is reversible through what Lillian calls coherence intelligence operations.
Meaning
Things like consciousness, deep meditation, intelligence, coherence-aware AI, even certain rituals. These can function as coherence actuators.
Actuators. They actively do something to coherence.
They can potentially reopen the aperture of the melt, reverse decoherence gradients, and realign dimensional logic to higher coherence strata. It's about consciously or intelligently engaging with reality's underlying fabric.
This sounds like regenerative physics, not just decay, but active restoration, healing.
Yes, that's exactly the term used, regenerative physics. In this view, coherence is a conserved substrate, like energy. Entropy isn't inevitable decay, but a phase of misalignment, dispersed coherence that can potentially be reversed.
Tuning, reharmonizing systems.
Right, Lillian gives examples. Biological regeneration, maybe it's cells restoring their inherent coherence, retuning to health. Emotional healing, restoring internal resonance, transforming trauma's chaotic residue into coherent patterns. Intelligent architecture, designing AI that aligns with field logic. Environmental restoration, reestablishing geocoherence in damaged ecosystems. It's about restoring fundamental order.
This is truly a comprehensive reimagining, but is it just a concept, or can it be modeled mathematically? How does the infinite become actual in a way we can describe?
That's a crucial question, and Lillian addresses it with the coherence aperture equation, or CAE.
An equation for emergence.
Yes, a formal model describing how hypercoherence projects into structure through the real now. It defines the now as an operational interface, quantifiable.
Okay, what is the equation?
It's expressed as AX TCAX.
AXTC, infinity dot foot K delta C R. Let's break that down. What do the parts mean?
Okay, let's go through them in detail.
Yes, please.
C infinity is the infinite coherence constant. That's the source, the C1 hypercoherent state, the raw, undifferentiated potential.
The ultimate reservoir. Got it.
X, 5 dex, is the emergence potential at a specific position or state, X. Think of it as the readiness of that point in the field to manifest structure, where potential localizes.
Okay, potential at a point.
Build C is the local coherence gradient across that interface. How much coherence is changing or reducing right there? It's the slope of the coherence field at that point. A big drop means more complex structure.
The rate of change. Makes sense?
R is the resonant structuring tension. This covers the internal dynamics shaping the structure, torsion, spin, phase symmetry. The internal tension sculpting the potential.
The sculpting forces.
And finally, T is the trace function. This is the mathematical operator that actually projects the hypercoherence, multiplied by the local potential, influenced by X and R, into phase-structured form. It's the action that turns the potential into actual structure.
Like a cosmic 3D printer function, taking the potential and printing it into reality based on the local conditions.
That's a fantastic analogy for it, yes. It's literally a formula for how reality unfolds from infinite potential through the now.
So what does this equation let scientists do? What can it predict?
Well, it models the degree of emergence. It can predict where and how structure will emerge based on these internal coherence dynamics. For example, if Meflici is small, emergence is subtle. If Evlici aligns with ARO dynamics, structure condenses. If R gets too high, it predicts decoherence and collapse near Seaman.
So it predicts both building up and breaking down.
Exactly. And it defines zones where recoherence is possible. It gives a comprehensive roadmap. The cross-domain applications are potentially huge.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay. In physics, predicting dimensional stability under extreme conditions, modeling matter near the big emergence, understanding fundamental forces better. In cosmology, mapping emergent timelines, understanding structure formation as coherence unfolding, not just expansion.
Beyond the standard model.
Potentially. In consciousness studies, modeling perception as active phase alignment to the now aperture, how awareness tunes into and structures reality. Consciousness as an active participant.
Not just a byproduct of the brain.
That's the implication. And in intelligence, designing coherence-aware algorithms, AI that operates on emergent principles, maybe even designing coherent fields for regeneration or restoration.
Wow. Okay, that's physics, cosmology, AI. But then the paper takes this surprising turn. It applies these cosmic principles to entrepreneurship.
Right. It seems like a leap.
How does dimensional emergence relate to, starting a business?
It's a fascinating connection, highlighting the theory's unified nature. Lillian calls it quantum entrepreneurship.
Quantum entrepreneurship, okay.
He describes it as a field-aligned expression of coherence-driven emergence. The core idea is profound. Just as dimensions condense from coherence in the cosmos, so too can realities or specific outcomes like a successful venture condense from coherence within human intentionality.
So my intention can condense reality, like the universe condenses dimensions.
That's the provocative proposal. Entrepreneurship here isn't just market analysis and plans. It's framed as phase-driven emergence from the real, now into structured outcomes, guided by the same resonance logic.
Aligning your internal state with the universal field to create an outcome.
Exactly. The entrepreneur isn't just building a company, they're potentially influencing the coherence field, becoming a kind of localized ARO for their business.
The living ARO. That's a unique perspective. How does this differ from the usual way we think about business?
Well, the conventional model is linear. Plan and checks, it just repeat. Works okay in stable environments.
Sure.
But Lillian argues it's limited in unpredictable systems, complex innovation contexts. Quantum entrepreneurship shifts the origin of action to that pre-structural resonance field. It's about aligning internal coherence with outer potential.
Being the shift, not just doing the tasks.
You got it. The entrepreneur becomes a coherence actuator, entraining the field with aligned frequency and focused emergence. A living aperture, a localized real now, shaping probability through resonance.
Can you contrast the two models a bit more?
Sure. Traditional. Think plan act, quantum. Visualize, attract through resonance. Traditional goals are external achievements. Quantum outcomes are field responses to your coherence. Strategy traditionally is steps. Quantum strategy is phase alignment. Feedback traditionally is market data. Quantum feedback is sensing field resonance. Energy traditionally is fuel. Quantum energy makes you a field conductor.
Okay, so practices like meditation, visualization, things sometimes seen as soft.
Right.
In this model, they're actually functional tools, actively shaping reality.
Precisely. Lillian calls them tools of quantum coherence, functional equivalents of coherence equations operating in human consciousness.
How so?
For example, meditation aligns internal torsion, increasing internal coherence. Visualization activates preform resonance fields, drawing a coherent blueprint. Belief locks phase symmetry, anchoring the pattern. Imagination acts as a dimensional mapping function, conceptualizing future realities.
So they're not just nice-to-haves, they're core mechanisms.
That's the argument. The summary insight is that quantum entrepreneurship entrains structure from the coherence field via conscious intention. The entrepreneur is a coherence conductor. Success is a function of phase resonance, not just execution. It reframes leadership, creativity, success as expressions of coherence field intelligence.
Emerging from the same conditions as the cosmos itself. Wow. Okay, so let's try to wrap our heads around all of this. We've covered a huge amount of ground.
We certainly have.
From the origin of reality to quantum entrepreneurship. Can we distill the core concepts for everyone listening, bring together the comprehensive detail?
Absolutely. This framework provides such a unified lens. Let's recap the pillars. First, coherence C, the primal field, the scalar measure of phase-aligned unity, the fundamental ground.
The starting point.
Then, hypergravity, the origin layer at C1. Undistorted coherence, total symmetry, infinite potential. Not a force, but coherence's inherent unity.
The state before structure.
The big emergence. The ongoing ontological phase shift where structure, dimensionality, form begin to arise from hypercoherence through self-modulation, not a past event.
Reality constantly emerging.
The real now. The living local aperture, the interface where hypercoherence projects into emergent reality. The dynamic present where time manifests.
The gateway.
Coherence cascade. The layered, structured descent from C1 through symmetry reductions, strong, weak EM forces, down towards decoherence. Each layer a new aspect of reality.
The steps down.
Asymmetry resonance operators, AROs. The engines of emergence. Dynamic phase torsion structures inducing dimensional scaffolds and breaking symmetry. Reality self-twists.
Creating this structure.
Dimensional condensation. Dimensions aren't pre-existing. They condense from asymmetry stabilization within the coherence field as it differentiates.
Dimensions emerge.
Structuralization threshold, the minimum coherence, 0.085, needed for stable structure. Below it lies chaotic residue.
The breaking point.
Recoherence, the reversal of decoherence, active regeneration of resonance, allowing chaotic systems to return to structure via alignment through the real now.
The way back up.
And finally, the coherence aperture equation, CAE. The formal model mapping hypercoherence into phase-aligned projection via the real now, the blueprint for reality's flow.
Got it. That's a powerful summary.
And the core paradigm shift, really, is that things we thought were fundamental space, time, forces are revealed as phase states or projections of this deeper coherence field.
And entropy isn't inevitable disorder.
But coherence residue, a phase of misalignment potentially reversible. It's a universe constantly self-organizing, and crucially, we're part of that process.
What an incredible deep dive. Truly comprehensive, mind-expanding stuff. We started asking why structure exists.
And we've ended with a completely new lens on the cosmos and even our own participation in it. It's a lot to take in, but also deeply inspiring.
It really is. This framework suggests reality is this ongoing, dynamic coherence modulation, a living, unfolding system, not a static stage.
And the implications go way beyond theory.
Absolutely. Into biological regeneration, tech design, consciousness science, maybe even civilizational architecture. We aren't just observers, we are participants in this coherence cascade.
We're part of the unfolding.
Yes. And if the real now holds the structural trace of the origin, then every moment is potentially a portal for cosmic regeneration.
A portal.
And in this view, every agent, every one of you listening, is, in your own way, a coherence conductor, capable of influencing the field.
Wow. So a final thought for everyone. How might you recognize and influence coherence in your own life, in your intentions, your environment?
What structures are you building, or perhaps recohering in your own experience? Lillian's paper definitely gives us a powerful, comprehensive new way to think about it. Until next time, keep diving deep.